So, for everyone who doesn't know me, I am Carson Scott, and I co-coach the MRCA Blue team with Caleb this year. Or you can call me Coach Carson, but I'm still getting used to that. Anyway. I first want to just start off by thanking all our parents for supporting us at all our games, even the away games, all the way down in Spartanburg Prep, really far away, and I thank you for bringing the kids to practice every day and bringing them home. I also want to thank Ms. Drury for really stepping in and helping our team out and making sure that no one was missing the practices or didn't know what time the game was. She was always on top of it and working hard. And I also want to thank, lastly, Mark Martin for putting this whole team together and giving us this wonderful opportunity to guys, without this team, we would have had tons of kids, not playing for MRCA, and these kids could develop and be our, superstars 8th grade year. You never know. So the first season, we kind of started off, for those of you who don't know, on a rocky start. I'll be honest. We lost a few games here and there. We ended up winning one mid-season, and then we lost a few again. And we lost this one team. I tell you, we should have beat them. Spartanburg Prep. Yeah, 3-1. They had one good player, and we knew that. And we should have beat them, and we knew that. So we rescheduled one game, and I was Spartanburg Prep. We decided to schedule them again because we only had 5 games. So we decided for them to be our 6th. And the boys, I tell you what, they really practiced to 100%, showed up at all the practices. They bonded as a team, and we had some disputes on the team, but they all came together as one unit and really developed as a team. And so that day, when we played Spartanburg Prep for the second time, they came out to play. I'll tell you what, they came out to play. We ended up beating Spartanburg Prep 6-0 the second time. And how they developed their teamwork, their chemistry, and how they developed their friendships. First that I'd like to share with you guys is Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. And this really just shows how our team built their teamwork, and they built their friendships around God, and they developed their relationship with God throughout the season. On top of their really good sportsmanship, because when we beat Spartanburg Prep 6-0, we didn't boast, we didn't go screaming across the field, we just quietly came back and we shook their hands. I was really proud of them. One thing that I would like to say is when we would go for runs or do athletic stuff, the policy that I used to really enforce, that my old coach used to enforce, is to leave no man behind. And I think these guys really exemplified that. When we were running the mile, no one was left behind. And there was always, pairs at worst case, and no man was, a few seconds behind the others. And I really appreciate them doing that. So I'm going to give it over to Coach Caleb now. He's going to talk a little bit about the players.
I'd just like to say that I'd like to thank Mark for giving me this opportunity, because when I was in the road, I always had the coaches and I always looked up to them. So to be able to come here and have that same impact on other people, it really meant a lot to me. So that being said, I'm going to call up our players. If you could hold your applause till everybody's up, because I just have a couple words to say about each player really quick. So first I'd like to call up Aiden Warren. He was our only 7th grader on the team this year, but he really put in a lot of hard work, and despite being the oldest player, he was a really solid leader for us because of the 6th graders with us, so he was the 7th grader. He really was a good leader, really improved a lot, and put in a lot of hustle and effort, so I thank him for that. Next up is Axel Mitchell. I'd like to call him up. This guy has an unbelievable motor. We would put him in at defense, which is on one side of the field, and somehow he'd still come all the way up to the other side of the field and be taking shots. And then he'd run all the way back to play defense. So he was always ready to hustle, and he had a smile on his face at all times. He was encouraging everybody else. So that's Axel. I'd like to call it Ben Bushkowski next. Ben was one of our funniest players on the team. The guys liked to mess with him. They nicknamed him Whoops because he'd always seem to go to kick the ball and it wouldn't be where he hit his foot. So his classic catchphrase was "whoops." But really, he had so much energy. He was hustling all over the place, so I really appreciated that. Next up, I'd like to call up Camden. Camden, we gave him our Eagle Spirit Award because he just exemplifies, in my opinion, what an Eagle athlete looks like. He's always encouraging everybody else. He always has a smile on his face. He's hardworking. He never gives up. Even if he may not be the best player out there, there's no one that's going to outwork him or out-hustle. Next, I'd like to call up Colin Jones. Colin was another one of our big key players. Most players, at least everywhere in soccer, always want to be up top, play forward, score goals. Colin was one of the first people I've ever known to come up to a coach and personally ask, "Hey, can I play defense?" So that was one thing that I really appreciated about him was the courage he had, because our guys, as you can see, we're not the tallest. We have played a lot of teams that were all 8th graders, all really tall, like as tall as me and Carson. And so the fact that Colin was able to go up and be courageous and play against these big guys was awesome. Next up, they call him George. As you can tell, George is just funny. Everybody's laughing as he's coming up. George really kept it easy going for our team. If there was ever a tense moment, he'd always lighten the mood with a joke. But he always gave it his all. He was always going his best. Whatever position we put him in, he'd always go up and try and score. And so that was awesome. Next, I'd like to call it Hollis. Hollis was another one of our leaders. He's played soccer for a good portion of his life, so he was able to contribute a lot of learning to his other teammates for just giving tips and different things like that. He was fearless. He's another one of our players that we put in the middle of this field, and in all these giants, you just see Hollis in the middle, getting the ball somehow and going up and trying to score. So that was awesome just to see him being courageous and taking on those taller players. Next, I'd like to call it Holt. Holt was another one of our players that put in a lot of effort. You could really tell how hard he was working. He had a great spirit. He'd always be on the field. Even if he wasn't on the field, he was up there cheering his teammates on, working hard. Next, James Drury. James was really kind. One of the coolest things about him, one of the memories I have is there was one practice I forgot a water bottle, and so he let me borrow his water bottle for a little bit, and then the next practice we came back, and he had a separate water bottle just for me, just to give to me, so that was one thing that I really noticed about that. But besides that, he was really skillful. He would put him in every position, and he did really well no matter what position he was playing, so that was awesome. James Bork, I'd like to call James up next. So the two Jameses were, at times we had to borrow the goalie from the other team because we only have 12 players and there were 11 players on the field at one time, so that called for a lot of substitutions. But when we didn't, both Jameses played goalie for us, so that was awesome to see them step up. But James Bork, he gave it his all the time. He had a really kind heart another. He was a servant on the team, whether it was on or off the field. He was always helping his teammates, always doing his best. Michael, next up. He was another one that came up to me and asked to play defense multiple times, which I really appreciated because it's really hard to make a lineup when everybody wants to play forward and we need 4 defenders at one time. So it was really helpful to have Colin and Michael step up and be defenders. Michael was another hard worker. He always had courage to go up against the bigger guys. He never backed down from an opponent, so that was awesome. And lastly, Mark Ricardo, come on up. Ricardo was another one of our goal scorers. We had him go up top. He always was giving it his all. He had a lot of skill, but overall he was also a really great teammate, always helping his teammates out. So this is your MRCA blue team right here. You can clap now.